The ascension of her husband to the presidency was by no means easy. He had to fight off a 5-month attempt to steal the elections. Arya Ali had to deal with the stress that came with that, while at the same time enduring a complicated pregnancy, which ended tragically when she lost their second child. In an interview with the Newsroom's Insider, the First Lady discusses her role, how she hopes to use her office, and the intense scrutiny she faces. Thank you very much for talking with us. This is your full extended interview since you've become First Lady. It's been 4 months now. Tell me what it's been like for you.
Well, I can say, first of all, let me say thank you for having me here. Well, it's been 4 months, and I must say it's a learning experience. There are so many emotions I can talk about, but to put it in a nutshell, it's, let me say, somewhat taxing. It can be very overwhelming. I do get frustrated. If there was a manual that says how to be a First Lady, I would love to get my hand on one of those. But there are so many challenges. There are so many great outcomes as well. And I hope one day I can be someone a girl can aspire to be.
Tell me, what are the challenges?
There are many things, like how to act, how to dress, you know, the scrutiny. The scrutiny is immense. There are quite a few negative comments, but it is what it is, and I'm coping. I'm coping well.
You're not accustomed to people judging you for the way you look or the way you talk, the way you dress.
It's not a norm, but I'm kind of what to say, open up about it now. And it's okay. I find it's pretty much okay. Everybody has an opinion, so.
Are you involved a lot in the political aspects of your husband's work?
I try not to be. My office is very ceremonial, and I try not to keep the politics in, but no, I don't keep the politics in.
But you've come from a background of politics. Your father was a staunch supporter of the PNC. He was a Burnhamite.
Yes, well, he was once a Burnham guy, but as years and years, like since the 1990s, but he was a Burnham guy, and from the stories I've heard, he was one of the men in the village that have had a telephone, like, and a television at that time. So it was a big thing. It was a big thing in the village, and from the stories I've heard, like, people would have to go to his house to make a phone call, that kind of thing. So after then, I think when Chadi Jagan won, he did have a switch. So so he switched to PPP, and but there isn't much I can reflect on because I was 9 years old when he died. So there isn't much I can actually remember.
Of those stories you've heard, what is it about politics that drove him? What did he want to see?
I'm not sure, but I figure because he was a businessman, I think what he did was, and he was one of the successful businessmen at that time. So he basically, I guess whoever was ruling, he was supportive of. So.
And your mom as well. She worked as a cook for a very long time. With who? Tell us about that.
Okay, so she worked for 42 years with Sheila Chapman. Sheila Chapman is the mother of Raphael Trotman. And my mom is basically the second mom for Uncle Raphael and his siblings. So, yeah.
So you're very close.
We are very close.
So how does that mesh with your husband being PPP and all of that?
I guess everyone respect whoever you're supportive of, and we've never let politics be a divider. So we try not to engage in the political talks whenever we meet up or whatever it is.
Right. So when you started dating Irfan, the president, did you think that this is what your life would eventually become?
No. Honestly, no. But I knew he had the dreams and aspirations of being a president one day. So I tried to condition my mind to this day, that this day is going to come.
And so you weren't involved at all in the political campaign. People didn't see you when he decided to run for president.
I would have loved to be on that campaign trail, but at that time I was pregnant with my second son, and it was a devastating time actually because of the elections uncertainty, and then my child not making it into the world. He died at 5 months, and it was a hard time. I left the country 2 days just before the borders closed, and I was stuck for 3 months overseas, and there was no Irfan, there was no Zaid, there wasn't even my mom at my side when I really needed them. So that was a hard time for me.
And so you lost the child.
Yes, I lost a child at 5 months.
Would you talk about what happened?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with what I can deal with it. I can cope. I'm coping. I coped very well. But what I can say is I found out that he had a heart condition, and I needed to seek overseas medical attention. When I got there with the whole COVID and all, things were delayed. So he just didn't make it. So we couldn't I couldn't even bring him back home. So it was very hard.
So you were dealing with that, and then you were dealing with the elections uncertainty in Guyana.
And then there wasn't even a date of opening the airports. Like every time they set a date, it was extending. So it was tough.
And it was taking a while for the results to be finalized here.
5 months.
What was that like for you?
Like I said, it was a very, very tough time. We were dealing. It was very tense in the home. When I got back, everybody was tense. Irfan was out day in, day out. So it was a hard time.
Did you at all get involved in all the work that he was doing to try to resolve this issue towards an elections result?
No, we were home trying to stay safe. We couldn't even get out because of we don't know what's out there waiting for us or that kind of thing. So we try to stay indoors, and whatever news we get from him, we kind of run with it. So.
But then it all came to an end on August 2nd. Tell me about that day.
That day, it happened so fast. Like, I wasn't even prepared. I wasn't expecting it to happen that day. I mean, with the uncertainty of 5 months, like it just wasn't. I couldn't even comprehend that it was happening that day. I was literally sitting as the wife of the president at the conference center, and I still couldn't imagine I'm there as the first lady. But it took a while. It took a while to figure that out. If you were to ask when, I would say in the inauguration day, when I sat nervously on that culture center stage.
Was it dawning on you at that point in time that you're first lady and all eyes are perhaps on you and not the president?
Yes. That day, it was nerve-wracking, I must admit. And I was clueless. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to act. I was pretty much clueless. I was 29 years old. I just finished I only had one job since I came out of university, and that was a GRA as a public servant, but that was it. I was very much clueless as to what to do,
And you were still employed at GRA when you became first lady?
Yeah, like, I had to resign, obviously, so yeah.
So what do you see in this role that you have as first lady? I know you said that it's a bit uncertain still, and you're still trying to figure your way out, but what do you hope to use your role to do?
Well, I have many projects that we're working on, but what I'm doing is I am trying to execute them in phases. So I am very much passionate right now about our national beautification project. Why? Because I find that we're going to have an influx, a high influx of tourists, and with foreign investors coming into the country, I find that we need a facelift and we need to be welcoming with our hospitality going side by side with how Guyana look. So, yeah.
So tell me about some of those projects that you're working on.
Okay, so there's that one, and I also have my disability project. I call it inclusability. I don't like to say the word disability or disabled. I like to say differently abled. I find that that particular group is very, very vulnerable and they need a lot of attention. How I look at it is that they need the income to make them independent. It's not a case where they don't want to work. It's just that businesses are not willing to employ those people. But I'm here advocating that each business at least hire one differently able person.
So you've been going around in your different meetings, you've been trying to push that. Have you been able to get success?
Yes, we have been. There are quite a few large companies that are willing to tap into that project. But I know there is room for more. So.
And then you also are thinking of this Adopt an Orphanage program. Tell me about that.
Okay, so Adopt an Orphanage is the same bit. We are asking the private sector to adopt an orphanage. Each company should or try to adopt an orphanage at least for 6 months. And that is helping them with their overhead expenses, if they can tap into the meals. But that's basically it. So to give them a little boost and give the children a little bit more than what's being offered on a daily basis.
Your role as First Lady it's not a constitutional office. Your budget is very, very tiny. You're trying to do a lot with meager budget, so you depend on partners to get all that you want to do done. Have you been able to secure some partners in getting your work done?
Well, the private sector has been very, very helpful. They're the ones that I can proudly say is lending that kind of support to us. But I would love for more. Like, there's so much more that we can do as the office of the First Lady, and I would love that kind of support from more persons, even individuals rather than the actual businesses.
You started off talking about the do's and don'ts. What sort of things must the First Lady do and not do?
That's a good question. Like, I wish I knew. There are many things. Like, for instance, you can't have a personal
Life?
not even a personal life, but you can't even have personal social media accounts. Like, everything is being monitored. There's no privacy. There is no privacy. There's always somebody behind you. If I want to go somewhere, I have to tell somebody so that they can make provisions or put systems in place so that I can move from point A to point B. So there's no privacy. If I want to walk downstairs, there's somebody behind me. Like, it's totally different. It's a whole lifestyle change.
All the work that you do reflects on the work that your husband does as the president. What can you tell us about him and the way he goes about his business of running the country?
Well, the president is a president. I try not to mix the president's agenda with my husband's agenda. So when we're at home, we try not to talk politics. We try to be more of a family. We try to interact with the baby, and we have breakfast together. We have lunch together. We would sit and watch a movie. So other than me finding out his work on his social media page, there isn't like a conversation where he's like, so tomorrow I have XYZ to meet, or that kind of thing. So and I'm happy about it. There are days where I ask, how was the day? or what do you have planned tomorrow? But other than that, I try not to tap in too much. It gets overwhelming at some point.
Would you describe him as a workaholic?
He is a workaholic. Like this morning, he left at 7. Yeah, he comes home late at night and he leave early in the morning. So, but I am happy for the days that we get to spend together, which is like mostly the weekends. Yeah.
Yeah. And how are you managing your office and family?
It's tough because I have a toddler and he is in his exploring stage where he pulls things down and he is just running. He's eager to learn. But I feel that I am balancing family life as well as my office. But it's working for us.
There must have been times when you're thinking, what happens to him when he grows up a little bit? Because you do have at least 5 years in this house, and hopefully another 5 years.
It is worrisome. Like my biggest worry right now is he is growing into this. He doesn't know anything other than somebody opening a door for him or somebody is doing his dishes. But I will try to instill in him that he still needs to be the gentleman. He still needs to open doors for women, girls. He still needs to make up his bed every morning. If he uses something, he needs to wash it, like dishes. That is kind of worrisome.
Have you thought about him going to school and what that could be like?
Oh, I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I'm sure it's going to pose a lot of challenges.
And your mom helps you a lot. You said your father died when you were 9 years old. She has been with you all through then, and she still continues to support you.
She's my major support system. Like, my mom has been there for me ever since. Like, I can't imagine a day without her. I'm sitting here and I'm very comfortable knowing that she's home with my baby. So, yeah, she plays a major role in my life.
So let's talk about State House now. You're in this big, massive house. What sort of change was that for you, knowing that this place is always busy, you always have people coming through, you have to, I don't know what things you have to do, I suppose, host dinners for visiting dignitaries. Is that a challenge for you? Is it something you enjoy? Does it become overwhelming?
I am still adjusting, Neil. I come from a very humble background. I am very comfortable with a quiet countryside home, and here I am in the State House. Yeah, it's. I can say though that our family has grown. We have an extended family, and I consider them my team. And they're working very hard to support us and support the home. So they're doing an exceptional job.
So what's the best part about being First Lady?
Oh, that's a quick trick question. I guess it's the impact that I can make for women and girls. As I said earlier, I really, really want to be a person young girls aspire one day to be. I know in my capacity I can help, and I'm willing to help.
Social media has been a big challenge for you. People say nice things and then they say really bad things about you. Does that really worry you?
I am only human. Like, it does bother me because I find what happened would be, even if I try to stay off of social media, some friend would screenshot something and send it to me and like just upset my day, or but I have to take the bad with the good. So I find it's okay.
A lot of people look at the way you dress. What can you tell us about how do you decide what to put on when the day is up? What's your style, I suppose?
I am not even sure, but I just feel that I try to dress to cater for my body type. There are certain things I wouldn't wear, and there are certain things I'm very much eager to wear. Like, you know, it's just there sitting in my closet and I just want to wear it.
I mean, are you a dress up fancy kind of person?
I do like fashion. Even before being First Lady, I was very passionate about fashion, and I love really nice things. So I can say, but with regards to designers, I like a mix.
You've been making an effort to wear local designers.
Yes, I do like their work. And I find that we have the talent here in Guyana, and I think more people should embrace those local designers.
Okay. So tell me what a typical day is like for you.
A typical day. So I would wake up in the mornings because my son is my daily alarm. We would have breakfast together, and then I'd probably dress to come to work. I spend the entire day in the office, meeting and greeting, courtesy calls, planning my projects, doing our work, and then it's just back home.
Are you Monday to Friday?
I try to keep one day at least for my baby, so I spend that entire day home with him.
And do you still get around cooking and all of that?
I'm not a cooking kind of person. I am more of a baking person. So now it poses a little bit of challenge because I'm so busy. But during that quarantine period, I was very much active in the kitchen. So yes, I would still cook here and there.
Good. And so looking to the future, I know we talked about projects and so on. And what particular group of people do you see yourself inspiring or doing the most good for in your role?
I want to inspire our girls, our young girls, especially the hinterland girls. I find that children and the differently abled persons are our most vulnerable. And if my office can solely work to help those groups, I would definitely go for it.
Hinterland Girls, because you are, we've talked before about you wanted to make sure that every girl gets to school.
Yes, I want to empower those girls rather through education. So yeah, I really want to work with them. But obviously COVID is dampering us and there isn't much we can do at this point, but it's definitely something I'll tap into.
So First Lady, if you were to tell someone about you and the work that your office does and how that relates to the work of the President, what would you say?
So whatever my office does, it's definitely aligned with our President's vision, and I find that whatever he's doing is for Guyana's development. He is very much passionate about our infrastructure. We will be a very rich country with our oil boom, and I find that whatever he's doing, he is going to excel. He is a workaholic, as we said before, and he is going to make a difference for our country. A lot of things were said about him, but I can proudly say he is going to make a difference and an impact for our country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.